going on, everybody? Hello again, and welcome back to another episode of the Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc. That's right, clap it up. Get excited, make some noise wherever you are. Share the show. Let everybody know that the Welch Report is right here, right now, for your viewing and listening pleasure. Oh boy, I'm so excited to be back with you again. On today's episode, we're going to cover Chris Eubanks Jr. and his loss to Liam Smith, as well as the Lakers finally making a move in the season. What does this mean with Hachimura getting on the roster for the Lakers' future? Oh, we got so much to cover, and we're going to talk about it right here, right now. Just as a quick disclaimer, we're available everywhere on YouTube, right here on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and every major podcast platform. And be sure to like the video, comment your thoughts and opinions, subscribe to the channel like y'all been doing. Oh, I love y'all for joining in on the empire. And please share the channel to everybody that you know so we can grow this empire, continue to grow it together. Thank you so much for joining and listening, and let's jump right into it. Let's not waste any time. It's time to step into the ring. That's right, ring the bell. Let's get it started. Round one underway, and the only round of the fight for this boxing segment or combat sports segment. Chris Eubanks Jr. loses to Liam Smith via insane KO over the weekend. My goodness, what a shock. To be perfectly honest, I was shocked at this loss. Reason why is because of the fact that Chris Eubanks Jr. is a fighter. Again, we know the pedigree from Chris Eubanks Sr., the former world champion. You know, the some people call the enigmatic, what's the word? Enigmatic? My vernacular is up there. I don't know why I'm struggling with that word today, but the incomparable, that's the word. Chris Eubanks Sr., who was very, how do we say, poignant during his time as champion and as a fighting top contender during his day, descendant, and he has the pedigree, has the training, all that stuff, and it's somebody who I thought honestly that he was going to beat Liam Smith. I was really thinking that it was going to be a situation where, hey, he gets over the hump, he beats a legitimate contender, and boom, moving on up. The next steps are ever flowing for this young superstar. But turns out it wasn't to be. And let's break down the fight right here, right now. Again, I had Chris Eubanks winning up until round four. 2 rounds to 1. Reason why? Liam Smith was more so not shelling up, but walking Chris Eubanks down, and Eubanks was doing his job, jabbing, doing his job of trying to keep his distance, using his legs and using his length and reach to keep Liam Smith at bay, scoring shots. Had some flourish throughout the fight, not much. It wasn't like, oh shoot, incredible, but it was like, okay, I see what the game plan is. Keep him on the end, and as the fight was going on, you saw Chris Eubanks used the uppercut to try to get through the guard of Liam Smith because he was having a high guard walking forward. His head was, leaning forward at times. And when Chris Eubanks got in range, he took advantage of it. And you saw it, repetition of uppercuts on a consistent basis if the fight got to the inside. Or he would clinch. One of the two. Either way, the game plan, I understood it. I got it. I got what he was trying to do. Most likely in the later round, he was going to open up even more once he found consistent ways to get around that high guard of Liam Smith. Again, Liam Smith was doing good head movement, again, using, he is a wily veteran. The brother has been in the ring with a lot of legitimate contenders. The cat knows what he's doing, especially in this fight, as he won it. But, again, he was patient. I was complaining at first as to why he wasn't, letting his hands go a little bit more. But, hey, we saw what he was trying to do. At the end of the fight, at the end of round 4, we saw exactly what his game plan was. And it worked out flawlessly for him. Chris Eubanks, again, going for the uppercut, trying to use his length. Game plan was smart in theory. Didn't turn out well, though, did it? As at the 4th round, what does Liam Smith do? Walks him down, has his guard up, using the head movement to get out the way of some punches. Feinting a little bit to get Eubank to not commit to throwing the jab and throwing some of his shots. Finally got him in the corner. And what did he do when he got him in the corner? Brother, he let loose. He was doing that for, flurries in the fight. Once he got close to Eubanks, okay, we'll let his hands go. Again, I wanted it a little bit more. Reason why I wanted it a little bit more, because of exactly what happened in round 4. Because once he got him in the corner and he completely opened up, Eubanks was slipping, trying to slip, moving, boom. Caught with an uppercut, then a tight, you almost miss it if you don't pay attention, a tight left hook inside, or on the inside, boom, drops him. Then he gets up and starts walking, clearly is out of it. Clearly is out of it. I thought the ref was going to stop it right there. Surprised to let it go on. Clearly was out of it. Was stomping forward to the ref like a zombie from The Walking Dead. And, or if you play video games, like a zombie from The Last of Us. Ref lets it go. Shockingly to me. Goes back. Liam Smith finishes the job with another flurry. Somewhat throw a little bit of kind of, he caught him with one clean punch. Threw a couple flurries, kind of threw him, but irregardless, he was down anyway. He was going down anyway because he was already so off balance. And then the fight was over, finally. Finally. He was still out of it to the point that Eubanks kept trying to go back and fight Liam after the referee called it off. Corner had to come in to hold him back. But the reason why this happened, why Chris Eubanks Jr. got knocked out, it's not because he's not good enough to compete. No. Again, like I said, I thought I had him winning going into round 4, 2 rounds to 1. But it's because of the fact that he did the one thing that you cannot do as a boxer, at least in my estimation, unless you're one of the few gifted fighters in this game, in any game. You can't imitate legends. You just can't do it. It is so, the reason why greats are so great is because of the fact that what they do is so hard, not only because of the tactics and the timing, but because them alone only have the ability to pull off the game plans that they try to do. The reason why so many people fail at trying to fight like Floyd Mayweather using the Philly shell is because you're not Floyd Mayweather. You don't understand the sports the way that he does. You don't have the reflexes the way that he does. You don't have the ability to predict and understand the weaknesses in the person's game and get in rhythm with their timing like Floyd Mayweather does. Joe Frazier, you know why few people have head movement like Joe Frazier, have the ability to just wail away on the inside in heavyweight history? Excuse me, because of the fact that many of them don't have the innate ability to fight at such an unsyncopated, off rhythm, bob and weave type nature, to where they can instinctively always be able to slip at somebody's punches while coming forward, even with their hands down, to be able to wail away with hooks, leaping hooks that you would normally think, hey, no textbook boxer should throw them. But again, Joe Frazier had some of the most ferocious inside fighting that we've ever seen in the game, and the greatest left hook that boxing's ever seen. You know why? Because he was the only one that was able to pull it off. We can go down the list. Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, Napoleon Loche, hopefully I'm saying his name right, if you look him up. Pernell Whitaker. There are so many people. The reason why these legends are legends, Ali. The reason why these legends are legends is because of the fact that they were able to do, they alone have the tools to pull off how they fight. And Chris Eubanks, from the jump, fought just like his coach, Roy Jones Jr. I'm talking about from the lead hand swinging down below to how he threw his right straight, pulling it back and everything, just like Roy Jones Jr. Going in, pulling it back out like he's grabbing something from a pot. I'm talking about from the stance, slightly leaning forward. everything, the jab, all of it. How he was trying to throw combinations with those quick flurries, just like Roy Jones Jr. would fight. When it almost looked like he never brought his guard back fully when he was fighting. Normally, normal sense, he was like this, and all of a sudden, boom, he would be on you. The shots would look like almost like patty cake shots, but they were hard shots. That's what Chris Eubanks Jr. was trying to do. That's how he tried to fight, emulating the unemulatable. Copying the uncopyable. Trying to fight like a once-in-a-generation talent. Again, Roy Jones Jr., if you don't know who he is by my metric, to me, raw talent outside of Sugar Ray Robinson is the most gifted fighter I've ever seen. Outside of Sugar Ray Robinson, Roy Jones Jr. naturally, rawly, is the most gifted fighter I've ever seen, and one of the greatest of all time. One of the greatest of all time. From power to speed to reflexes, to be able to fight at angles and in game plans and schemes that you would just think, no, he did everything wrong. It was so right, though, because he was doing it. That's what made him so great. Everything that you would not teach, he did, and did it to perfection. You know why? Because not only did he understand the game, but he had the ability within his body to pull off the immaculate, the incredible, the stupid that normally coaches would say, get out of my gym for doing. He did it, and he did it in such a way that's why he was so untouchable. Flip the script on what a boxer should be in terms of what you should and should not do and what you can and cannot do in the ring. The amount of risk this brother took, the way that he fought and was just able to get out clean as a newly shined shoe. I mean, but skidding on the edge of danger, always coming out pure gold, at least until he got knocked out. But at his best, there was nobody like Roy Jones Jr. There was nobody like Roy Jones Jr. And Chris Eubanks Jr. did the one thing, despite all of his own talent, which he does have, that you never should do. Fight like an icon. You can take semblances from that icon, absolutely pull from them. And of course, boxing is an ever-evolving thing. Eventually, you're always going to have some people that have similar cadences, similar styles to fighters of the past. No doubt about it, absolutely. But I'm saying to a T, Chris Eubank tried to fight like him. The problem was, he didn't have the defense. As you saw when he got into the corner. This brother had he tried to use all the head movement in the world. His guard was absolutely horrible in that fight. Utterly terrible once he got cornered. Once he got pressured. Absolutely abysmal. His defense was absolutely abysmal once he got pressured in the corner by Liam Smith. Akin to like when Roy Jones Jr. got knocked out against Antonio Tarver. A guard with a whole bunch of holes that you will get caught if you stay in there long enough. And look at what happened. Fought just like his coach right until he got knocked out. Right in the corner, just like Roy Jones Jr. This is Chris Eubanks. That was the biggest thing that I saw. The second I saw him come out in there, I was like, this can either be incredibly good or this can be incredibly bad. Because it's so hard for people to replicate somebody else's style. Especially somebody as great and as talented as Roy Jones Jr., who's game plan and whose fighting style, for this is not a knock, this is just the truth, was a big factor successful due to his physical attributes, which is something that Chris Eubanks does not have to that extent. Nowhere close. Nowhere close. And that's why he got dropped. That's why he got KO'd. And I don't want to hear anybody say anything about an elbow. Don't bump that mess. We ain't doing Deontay Wilder and the whole cheating scandal that he had against Tyson Fury. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing Glovegate. We ain't doing egg shape, whatever. We ain't doing none of that. None of that. That whole elbow thing that people were talking about, if you use your brain and you know boxing and you understand how body parts get in the way, then the most logical answer for why Liam Smith's punch that came in, or rather people stopped on the frame that came in looking like this, instead of looking like this for a normal hook, is because of the fact that if you watch the whole replay and you watch the fight on that hook that he was coming in with, clearly you saw he was coming in like a normal hook would in the corner when he had Chris Eubanks on the ropes. Most likely, at that same point, Chris Eubanks ducked down and had his hands up. And what happens normally when you do that? Either A, the arms catch the punch and shoot it up, or B, the fighter overextends the punch as the fighter's ducking, and what gets hit because of that overextension and because the butt is going down and trying to get his head out the way, the shoulder catches the arm and forces it up on a follow-through. Not no stinking elbow. Because if it was an elbow, guess what? You would have seen a clear and present bruise with the speed at which that punch was coming from that elbow. And you would have seen a clear and present jolt of the head from the elbow with the speed at which it was coming in. And most likely, and even more most likely, it would have been a clear cut. A clean cut. With as fast as the hook was coming in, it would have been a cut. Something egregious would have been able to be seen from that. As a result of that, either a major hematoma, severe bruising in one specific area that looks like a pinpoint shot was landed, and or a massive gash or some form of gash or lesion on the area where the elbow hit. None of that happened. It was just swelling. It was swelling from a hook, a legitimate hook that landed from the flurry. Most likely the hook that ended Eubanks after the uppercut. The last punch in the combination. Not like the fifth punch in the combination. The last one. The hook that actually landed is the one that did the damage. And inevitably what resulted in the beginning of the end of the fight. The hook that landed that caused Eubanks to drop, that's the one that did the damage. It's ridiculous. 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 We're not doing that stupid mess. Not no conspiracy. We ain't doing that here. Ain't no conspiracy. But that was a clean knockdown, clean knockout, clean TKO. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing it. We're not doing that here. No, we're not doing that here. Don't let nobody tell you we're thinking anything differently. Don't let these people trying to vouch for or save their favorite fighter or just trying to do stuff for clicks to get, oh, look at this minute thing that even I can't tell, oh, it landed. There's just one brother who's doing stuff where it's replaying one specific segment instead of showing the entire replay. Clearly shows that the elbow, from my perspective, I didn't see any elbow hit. This ain't me playing favorites. Both Liam Smith and Chris Eubanks are respected fighters, legitimate fighters, legitimate contenders. I want to see a good fight, and that's what I got. I ain't got no business favoritism, and I ain't got no favoritism, and it's no short nor should anybody. Outside of, oh, you want to see somebody win? Sure, cool. That's rooting for somebody, sure. But belligerent favoritism leads to stupid stuff like conspiracies. It's different if something actually happened. It's another thing when something is just you're trying to find stuff. We're not doing that. And with that being said, clean punches ended the fight. All because he was fighting like I said before, like his coach, Roy Jones Jr. Now this brings up another question with Chris Eubank. Where does he go from here? Because in the boxing sphere, when you got multiple losses on your record, sure, that normally is akin to saying, well, hey, stop. Just quit. End it all. In terms of career. You might as well wrap it up. You ain't getting no more big fights. Now, I hope that's not the case with Chris Eubanks Jr., and I don't think that's going to be the case. Boxing is a fickle thing, but I think Chris Eubanks has enough clout in terms of name and fan base that won't happen. I am sure that he's going to get back in the saddle. However, with that being said, how far can that saddle ride is a legitimate question. Why do I ask that? Well, first off, the plot holes that I see right now, one is that he's fighting like Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. has a lot of insight in the world of boxing. Any young fighter should listen to him to understand the ins and outs of the sport. Absolutely. However, I don't think he's going to be the best pick for Chris Eubanks for the stuff he needs to do defensively. And for based on what we see in this fight. I really don't. Maybe have somebody else as the coach only because of we saw how much he took from Roy Jones Jr. and how detrimental that was to him. Maybe he needs another coach that suits him and his fighting style better. Stuff like this doesn't happen. I'm not saying Roy Jones Jr. is a good or bad coach. I'm saying there's such a thing as fits in the world of boxing. Do you fit how I need to fight? Tyson Fury, when he switched coaches, it fit. Going to a more aggressive and when I say lumbering, I mean a more weight-centric style of fighting in terms of getting your opponent tired, leaning on the ropes, and going for the finish. What is it? Is it Croc Gym? I believe. Let me make sure. Let me make sure, because I don't want to steer you wrong. We'll have to find. I'm not gonna waste time trying to wait. We'll find it later. But point still stands. When he switched coaches, like versus Deontay Wilder, it fit his style of fighting, both in how he fights and his body as a whole, what he's comfortable doing, and what takes advantage of the gifts that he has. Chris Eubanks may need somebody like that in his corner. Who? Not sure. Other people may have ideas. Speculate in the comments below. Absolutely. But the point still stands. There has to be a right fit for him as a coach in order to bring out the best in the Eubanks. Because he does have legitimate talent. Problem is, who's the coach is going to bring that out in him? Especially now that he's moving up and facing better opponents. Because like I said, he can get back on the saddle after this loss. He can still make a comeback and get back on the road to a world title. However, the question was, how far can that saddle go? Because of the fact that, let's face it, whether you love him or hate him, facts are facts. Whenever he's faced top competition, he's come up short. Don't believe me? Liam Smith, or rather, let's start back. Billy Joe Saunders early in his career, former champion, lost to. Competitive fight, lost to in a split decision. George Groves, WBA champ, lost in a unanimous decision. And now Liam Smith, second in the world at welterweight, who's been in the ring. Oh, by the way, Billy Joe Saunders faced off against people like Canelo Alvarez. George Groves, again, WBA champ. Billy Joe Saunders, also a champion. George Groves, champion. Liam Smith faced off against Jaime Munguia and Canelo Alvarez, and currently second in the world. All of those fighters are either right at or the top of the division at one point in time. Were or are at the top. And all three of them he's lost to. This one by KO. Whenever he reaches the upper echelon in the top of the division, he can't seem to break the ceiling. It's a legitimate concern now, not to say his career is over. No, absolutely not. Not to say he doesn't deserve more shots and give him more chances. No, absolutely not. That's stupid to say that. But what's not stupid to say is ask the question whether or not he is legitimately able to contend at that high of a level. Is he championship caliber? Is he? It's a legitimate concern. It's a legitimate concern because everybody who he has faced, who's gotten to that point, has either taken control of the brass ring or already got to that point before they faced him and beat him. I'm not trying, this isn't me being just trying to heap hate or anything, but these are the questions that have to be asked as a fighter moves on, as his career develops. And this is one of the major questions. The man has hit a wall every time he's faced off against people who either are or would become champs. Billy Joe Saunders, George Groves, Liam Smith. Smith ain't even a champion right now. Second best middleweight in the world under Gennady Golovkin. Per the rankings. And you got a bunch of them. BoxRec has him second in the world. And the majority of them have him either at that or just right there. So in total, second in the world. Second best middleweight in the world. And he can't get it done. He can't. So the question becomes, look, boxing is a fickle sport, and it's a finite sport. You don't know when your number's going to be up. You don't know. You don't know when it's going to be time or your body gives out, or when one bad shot ends the career. Seen it happen so many times. Too many times in boxing. You got to take advantage of the things and the opportunities when they're present. And right now, are they present for Eubanks? Yes. But the question becomes, you're not going to get these opportunities as often anymore. And unless you, now it's got to be perfectly honest, again, I love Chris Eubanks, but with other fighters, with this many losses, 3 or more who are viewed as contenders, we've seen their stock fall. It takes consecutive, phenomenal, blowing opponent out the water performances for them to get back into the running. I don't want that for Chris Eubanks Jr., but that's what we got to see. Because that's what's going to happen with them. The question is going to get, noise is going to get louder and louder. Questions are going to get stronger and stronger. And they're viable in them being asked because it's a legitimate concern as to whether or not he can actively compete at the upper echelon. Because when it comes to the elite of the elite in the division, he has yet to gain a win against former, current, or aspiring champions. He's yet to get, again, George Groves beat him for the WBA title. I believe beat him for the WBA title in the Super Series tournament. Could be wrong. I don't think I do. Either way, I don't think I am. Yeah, I don't think I'm wrong. I believe. If I'm wrong, comments, correct me, please. Not opposed to being wrong. But George Ghost beat him in the Super Series for the WBA title. Billy Joe Saunders, who was a former champ, beat him earlier in his career by split decision. And Liam Smith, was he a champion? I can't recall, but regardless of which, has been in the ring with the likes of champions like Jaime Munguia and Canelo Alvarez. And right now, second in the world, and potentially will get a shot at some point down the line, potentially, against Gennady Golovkin. Especially after this performance. We can see that happening sooner than later, potentially. Yet to get it done against any top contender. And say what you want about Conor Benn. We get all the drama. We get all the backlash. We get the drugs. We get the PEDs. We get all that stuff. Even Conor Benn off PEDs right now, with all the flack that everybody's going to give him, and rightfully so. Hurting the sport, hurting his own legacy, all that stuff. I get it. Right now, if they fought, let's say Conor Benn has a tune-up fighting fights. I got Conor Benn. Because I don't. This, Liam Smith, was aggressive. Conor Ben's whole game plan is aggression. And he does have great head movement. As we saw against Algieri. The brother can crack as well. We know this. Like I said, against Algieri. And if you think Liam Smith got him out in 4, I don't care how you feel about what Conor Benn did to his body. When he gets clean, and if they fought together, Conor Benn is knocking him out in less than 3 rounds. Based on this performance. If he keeps fighting like this. If Eubanks keep fighting like this, no, Conor Benn's going to take him out. He would. I don't care how you feel about Conor Benn. Purely talking about the fight and how they fight. Understanding what they both bring to the table. Purely. Stylistically. Conor Benn beats and knocks out Chris Eubanks Jr. I want to see that fight still. I would love to see that fight. I want to see what it's going to be like Conor Benn off of drugs, off of the PEDs and all that stuff. But if it goes like I think it's going to go and they eventually fight, hopefully it happens and they fight, Conor Benn's going to knock him out. Conor Benn will knock him out. That's what I have. Conor Benn will knock out Chris Eubanks Jr. Because right now, this Chris Eubanks Jr. cannot handle pressure in any way in the slightest. And with the head movement of Conor Benn and the ferocity that he fights with once he gets on the inside, and the slickness that he does as well in getting in on the inside, I don't think that Eubanks will be able to keep him off and outbox him before Conor Benn's able to close the distance and get some legitimate damage and take him out inevitably. Because say what you want about Conor Benn. Again, stylistically, we know what Conor Benn can do once he gets you back on the ropes. We know that. Once he gets you backing up, we know what he can do. Both to the body and to the head. Ferocious body attack to take out the legs. Put water in the work shed, put water in the basement. And then once he gets you back in the corner, the combinations that he's able to throw. And how he's able to keep applying that pressure. Once he finds out he can actively get on the inside. That against Chris Eubanks Jr. is a nightmare matchup. At this stage right now, if Chris Eubanks were to fight him. Can it change? Absolutely. But right now, it's a danger. And so that's why the question needs to be asked, how far can the saddle go for Chris Eubanks in his career at this stage? Because right now there's a plateau. There's a ceiling. There is. That's been created based on his production against the best of the best. Again, like Liam Smith, like George Groves, like Billy Joe Saunders, and down the line, his most immediate competition that everybody's still clamoring to see, even with all the drug things with Conor Ben. Conor Ben versus Chris Eubanks. Those questions are legitimately, can he beat them? Can he get to that extra tier? Can he break the glass and elevate to that elite tier? Or is this plateau where we're seeing right now? These are the questions that you have to ask with Chris Eubanks. And whether they'll be, when will they be answered? Well, his next fight. Hopefully he changes his coach. Still gets advice from Roy Jones Jr., but gets a coach that teaches him a style that is better conducive to his ability. And then at that point, the ball's in his court. We got to see what happens. Because right now, there's a legitimate cause for pause on what we see from Chris Eubanks and how and where we should place him in terms of talent level. I'm not saying give up on him. I'm not saying he's a wash. I'm not saying he's a scrub just because he's got multiple losses on his career. No, I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that we're starting to see a dome or a glass ceiling form above his head. And right now, it's only getting thicker and thicker and thicker and tougher to break through, because every time it gets put in against that glass wall or against that glass ceiling, it cracks. He takes a crack at it and isn't able to break through, and the glass reforms just like a bone and gets stronger and stronger. Again, I know that's not how glass works, but for the sake of the analogy, every time he takes a crack at the glass, he might make a dent, but boom, isn't able to break it. Glass reforms and adds on another layer. Adds on another layer. Adds on another layer. It gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And the question of whether he can actually break through gets harder and harder and harder to answer, because the answer's more and more and more looking like it might be no. But time will tell. We'll have to see how he continues. But that's where we're at with Chris Eubanks right now. That's where we are. That's where we're at with Chris Eubanks Jr. Good fighter, great fighter. But right now, the question of whether he can break the ceiling is viable and is more than applicable to ask in this circumstance right now at the stage in his career. So that's been stepping into the ring. Now, let's look into the Los Angeles Lakers, who, by golly, what the world, against all odds, my goodness, this team actually made a trade. They did it. They did it. The Los Angeles Lakers, but shockingly made a trade. They did it when all hope seemed lost for this team. Finally made a trade for Rui Hachimura, a brother who is going to help this organization phenomenally. Gave up, 3 second-round picks, and Kendrick Nunn, who, let's face it, has been a bum on this organization, has been a bum on this squad, came into the league with high hopes and is potentially about to be out the league with no hopes, because how he played with the Los Angeles Lakers potentially is going to be how he plays with the Washington Wizards, his new home, and he was a bum. He was terrible, horrible, flashes of good play, covered up by absolutely abysmal, horrible, stupid, idiotic, terrible brand of basketball for the Los Angeles Lakers for the majority of his stint there. But now he's gone. The headache is gone. And the guard-filled roster of the Los Angeles Lakers has lost a terrible soldier, thank goodness, and gained a legitimate option in Rui Hachimura. Rui Hachimura brings something that the Lakers desperately needed: height and size to this organization. This team has been small this entire season. Outside of AD, LeBron, Thomas Bryant, and Damian Jones, who they never use. To a degree, I understand why. They have not had anything in terms of height going for them. Yet they were still somehow able to find a way to stay above 500. Again, majority is because of the defensive pressure that even with as bad as this team is, that's the one thing you can at least say, hey, they at least do that. They have that feather in that cap. At least. Offensively, though, they of recent, they were good. Better than they've been the majority of the season. But, point still stands, not great. Because offensively, they were hard. Offensively, they just, again, the whole isolation style of basketball and having to rely on LeBron to only be the saving grace with Anthony Davis being out has done wonders for LeBron in terms of numbers and showing the brother deserves to be considered one of the greatest scorers, if not, once he passes Kareem, only 170-something points until he does it. 178 points until he does it. Expected to have it against Milwaukee. Until he has the most points in NBA history. A record that's still for, 40-something years? Has right of claim to be regarded as the greatest scorer in NBA history. Does wonders to show just how great he is. But just shows a bigger spotlight on the failure of this entire organization. Rob Pelinka has made one good move, which is this move. This season. We as a basketball public, applaud Rob Pelinka for this one move. And that's it. You need more. We deserve more. As fans. Again, I've been said this. The Lakers are better. The NBA is better when the Lakers are relevant. I don't care if you love them or hate them. The NBA is better when the Lakers are relevant, wholeheartedly. And Rob Pelinka, you have done your due diligence. You and Jeannie Buss have done your due diligence to strip everything from this Los Angeles Lakers squad. Yes, we understand LeBron is part of the blame for why the Lakers are in this position. Yes, they could have had DeMar DeRozan. Yes, they could have asked for anybody outside of Russell Westbrook. Get that completely. Wholeheartedly. Absolutely. LeBron, you put yourself in this hole. No doubt about it. That don't change the fact that Rob Pelinka broke up a championship organization. Stupidly. Then they re-signed people like Alex Caruso, who, again, was willing to take less money than he did at Chicago to stay with the Los Angeles Lakers. He said it himself. These are the things that you've done, Rob Pelinka, to mess up this organization. And now you've made one good move in getting Rui Hachimura. But that's not enough. This team needs size. Rui Hachimura, again, is a great starting off asset to get this team to potentially playoffs contention. I'm not even going to say championship contention. Playoff contention. 6'8", 230 gives the thing that the Lakers need the most. Size. A big guy. Catch and shoot threes. Can legitimately hit from the corner. Has a mid-range. Has something outside of LeBron. And to a degree, Dennis Schroeder, nobody else on the roster has. I would say Anthony Davis, but again, he's hurt. And we saw how bad he was in the mid-range last year. This year, he's better, but it's still not great. Yet still playing dominantly down low when he is able to play. but can shoot from the mid range, can pick and pop, can pick and roll, can shoot from three off the catch, has the ability to take advantage of smaller defenders while not in the post, but again, can hit turnaround jumpers at a pretty good pace, shooting 58% from the mid range. Wasn't getting a lot of playing time in Washington because of the fact that Kyle Kuzma was there. Understandably so, Kyle Kuzma has had a great season, but the point still stands. He better be a starter. Darvin Ham, you better start him. And doggone it, there better be a way that Rob Pelinka finds to get Patrick Beverly off this lineup right now. Him and Juan Toscano Anderson. You started making moves. Now make some more. Build around that. Get some legitimate height. This team won the championship with what? Defense and size. Opposed to the three-point era of small ball that we see today. Why do you think the Bucks are successful? Why do you think the Celtics are successful? Defense and size. Why do you think the Nuggets are successful? Defense and size. Pelicans, size. Maybe not in terms of overall height, but again, actually no. Yes, in terms of overall height. Jackson Hayes, Jonas Valanciunas, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones. Lengthy, long, defensively sound, and they all can shoot. Again, offensively, we know what they are. We get exactly what they are. Again, you got C.J. McCollum and Brandon Ingram. You got Jokic and Jamal Murray and Kevin Porter Jr. You got Giannis, Chris Middleton. We get what those teams are great offensively, absolutely. But it's the size and the defense that is able to set them apart, and it's why they're able to switch and rotate on everybody and actively sway and just pull away from everybody else in their conferences. Boston too. Those are the things that make championship organizations. Regardless of what three-point era and what analytics have been saying. Track record, it's consistently shown that it works, and it worked for Los Angeles. Get back to that. Make moves to get back to that. Get rid of Patrick Beverly. He's not good on this roster. He hasn't been good for a long time, but he's not good on this roster specifically. But it's supposed to be a 3-and-D guy. Ain't doing no defense. It really dropped off severely on the defensive end, and is very much a non-threat on the three-ball side, shooting abysmally. Get rid of him. Get rid of Juan Toscano Anderson. Get rid of your picks as well, because there's no point in vying in for the future. It's dumb to, because you're just wasting an offensively incredible LeBron James right now. Talking about, we'll wait for the future. We don't know when the bottom's going to drop off. We don't know what freak injury can happen, even with somebody like LeBron. And the way he's playing right now, you mean tell me you're not going to surround him right now with some pieces so that when you get fully healthy with Lonnie Walker, with Austin Reeves, and with Anthony Davis, that AD and LeBron won't come back on the floor together with a collective unit that is actively able to win? You're wasting your time. And you're wasting LeBron's time. And he's made it clear that you need to make some moves. This better be the first of many. You won a championship with Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, and Anthony Davis as your core 3 big men. A rotation. Why was it great? Because it let AD rest, and I had to take the brunt of the defensive work. And I had to hurt his body so much. Then I had to play so many minutes and so hard. Took off the load, as well as provided a constant lob threat for any lineup for LeBron. I love Wayne Gabriel. I love the tenacity. The brother is not a great center. And at 6'8", he can't do but so much. He ain't Ben Wallace. He's not Ben Wallace. He ain't Ben Wallace or some undersized center that can just stop everything. He isn't Draymond Green. As tenacious as he is, as much he gives on the floor, he's just not that type of player. He doesn't have that ability. He's not that skilled. On both sides of the floor, defensively and offensively. Again, defense is about tenacity. Yes, absolutely. But you know what's better than a tenacious 6'8" person? A tenacious 6'10" person. A tenacious 7-footer. That's what you need. They want to be, and not only that, they had size, they had length, they had the ability to get boards on a constant basis, both offensive and defensively. Get a bunch of second chance buckets, consistent lob threats from the gravity of LeBron James. Was viable if you didn't have a great shooting night. Guess what? You could always go to the paint because they would always collapse on LeBron when he drove to the hoop or when he was in the post. And boom, you can lob it to Dwight. You can lob it to JaVale McGee. Or you can lob it to AD and whenever any of them were on the floor. Now, you can't lob it to AD, which they haven't been able to do for a couple weeks because of injury. Just shoot. It's either LeBron or the three. That's what it's been. And yes, I hear you. Russell Westbrook has been playing great these past couple of weeks. 6th man of the year in the running. I've been high on Russell Westbrook this season. He's finally bought into his role. Absolutely. Guess what? That still doesn't change the fact that the brother consistently still messes up at the most inopportune times. You can have as good of a game as you want to, but it's in key moments consistently we see him messing up. Constantly. That's the one gripe that I have with him. I got many gripes, but again, I haven't had to use them because he hasn't done them. But consistently, the man is always messing up at the most inopportune time. Like when LeBron last night had 46 on the road to a comeback against the Clippers, nearly fully healthy Clippers, with Kawhi and PG completely taking over the game by himself. Career high in threes, 9 of 14, 55% from the field. Would have had 50 if they were able to consistently keep it close. But that one turnover and those consistent level of mistakes, not the constant turnovers and mistakes by Russell Westbrook. Then the shorter made some too, but by Russell Westbrook caused them to bitch him. They were like, oh no, it's over. Completely shut down the run to the point that they took him out a minute later. Took out LeBron a minute later and just said, let Damian Jones and the rest of the scrubs that we have on the squad run. All of a sudden, what do you see? Juan Toscano Anderson dunking. Christie, or Scottie Pippen Jr. dunking in late game moments against the other scrub bench. Shoot, they about bought it within 10 with a minute left. Because the bench was going up against another bench of scrubs. So when the bench and the depth of the Lakers is going up against a worse bench, oh, they're phenomenal. Oh, they look great. After that, they suck against the best of the worst. Lakers have a lineup, absolutely. Get beyond that, they suck. And that's what they're facing most of the time. And that's why the bench in depth is so horrible. And you got to make moves. And right now, even with Russell Westbrook's recent good play, it's a definitive question on whether or not you should trade Russell Westbrook as well. Because you've already gotten the ball rolling with one trade. You've opened up the floodgates for the NBA in terms of at least a somewhat significant move. Now, what you gonna do? You gonna stop? Because if you stop, well, you're failing, and this season might as well be over. Might as well be over. But if you start, you're gonna have to go all in. If you want to finish what you're doing, you're gonna have to go all in. And that means, again, Patrick Beverley, Juan Toscano Anderson, and Russell Westbrook. It's going to have to be. And your picks. Minimum your picks. If you just want to wait until Westbrook's off the cap, your picks got to go. If you want to make moves right now. And you got to bring in more size. Especially with the way that Anthony Davis is so injury prone. You need somebody that can take the weight off of your star, one of your stars. Thomas Bryant has been showing up recently. Okay, he can be a viable center. You need more. You need another one. You need a strictly lob threat and defensive anchor. If you can get it. Or a three-point shooter. Hopefully both. If you can get fortunate enough. But something's got to be made. Because if not, you are failing this organization, Rob Pelinka. Because regardless of what mistakes that the players and LeBron made coming into this season for who they wanted to play with them, you are responsible for righting the ship. The blame falls on you at this point because now it's your job to make it right or make the best of what you can. And at this point, up until the Rui Hachimura trade, you haven't made anything. You've only made one trade that everybody can look at and say, okay, hey, that's a pretty good pick. That's a pretty good pickup. But outside of that, nothing. What are you going to do and when are you going to do it? Because if not, this season might as well be a wash. Might as well not even happen. Might as well sack LeBron the second after he puts up the record. Because there's nothing else you can do. Because right now, LeBron can put up 38 every single night for the rest of the season. And his Lakers squad can still miss the playoffs. That's how badly this team is built. Get it together and do what you got to do. It's your responsibility, Rob Pelinka, regardless of what anybody says, regardless of what mistakes were made in the past. You are the sole proprietor for making this thing work. You, Jeannie Buss, and everybody else in the organization that's responsible for making moves, you have an obligation to make it work. Because if not, you're failing at your job. And you're failing the fans of the Lakers. You're failing the fans of the NBA, because again, the NBA is better when the Lakers are good. Hopefully they'll happen. Can't wait to see Rui Hachimura finally play in their next game. And we'll see how well this fit actually is for this organization and whether or not teams will move on and make more moves in the future. And whatever the case may be, we will cover it all right here on The Welch Report. This has been another episode of The Welch Report. Clap it up. We've ended. We're great. We got another episode in the books. Aren't you happy? Aren't you excited? Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining the show. Please leave a like on the video, comment, thoughts, and opinions. Subscribe to the channel and share the channel with everybody you know so we can build up this empire. Again, we're available on all podcasting platforms to share with everybody. You can listen to us on the go, anywhere, anytime, any place, at any point in the day. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back with another episode. Peace and love. We are out of here.